there's a big part of me that can't believe it. When this started a year ago, holy shit, I've done 300 episodes. Just about since the pandemic has started. It's crazy.
Yeah. I know. I looked at my numbers the other day for my show, and I've just got a little thing. I think it was like 75 or so episodes already, and it's like, yeah, I don't remember interviewing that many people.
Oh yeah, I know. It's a blur here. Like it's a blur here sometimes. A little confession. I interviewed Jen Taylor, like before the 600s. I thought she was mom of 18 Jen, not Jen Taylor. For like a minute there, it's like, I interviewed you before. No, I haven't. Oh shit, I feel sheepish. But now, fortunately, I have a good big mouth. But it's like you get to a point when you do these shows, you interview a lot of people, and they're great conversations, and they're all wonderful. But holy crap, you talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And yeah, it's some of them come back a couple of times, and yeah, did we interview before? And then you check your thing. Yes, we did. And it's like new questions.
Oh, well, I don't worry about questions. I mean, you
don't.
It's just,
you just riff off things. It's fun.
Well, yeah. Well, it's easier. It feels real. Like if we were in person, this is what I do. It wouldn't even be like it wouldn't be that different. It would just be, hi, how you doing? Hi this, hi that, and it's one of those things where how do I put this? It's one of those things where I can see kind of how the how do I put this? I can see kind of why questions and answers. Like I could not have done this show without questions. If I had just done questions and answers and due diligence and research, because it would bore me, and not because there's a point. It's like, how do you feel about plot development here?
Oh no! I don't do plot development questions.
I know, but like I'm a writing, quote unquote, a writing show.
Yeah. Kind of. It's like, plot development questions. My plot starts out one way, weird things happen, and then more weird things happen, and then I end it. That's my plot development.
It's totally my plot.
I have no idea what the weird things will be when I start writing, but I mean, I have little outlines and everything.
Plans.
And then my characters do stupid things, and outlines change.
I'm having Alice in Wonderland fighting a zombie Hydra right now. Like a zombie Hydra. And I came up with a really evil way to beat the zombie Hydra. Right? Because you can't kill a zombie Hydra because it's already dead.
Yeah, well, and the Hydra itself, is that the one where you cut the heads off, right? And they grow back?
Yeah. The tuber take the place of the head you cut.
Yeah. So yeah, Hydra, a zombie Hydra, so did the zombies' heads grow back?
Kind of.
Okay. Well, we don't want spoilers, but yeah.
No, it was fun. It was just like, well, it just like, so in my story, Alice is playing croquet with Jason in the Greek underworld. Well, you gotta have an undead monster somewhere in the story.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what would be like the scariest like thing that should not be I can think of? Undead Hydra. Because how the hell do you beat it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to kill the undead things anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like a real legit. How do you do it? So I had fun. My solution is interesting. It sets up it's the penultimate scene, and the ultimate fight is after this. The final ring is crazy. But I guess I found a way to make it crazier. I didn't plan it. It just kind of happened. You know what I mean? And another thing, I think that's the best thing is when we write. I discover as much writing. I get as much joy in the discovery of writing a story as I think hopefully the readers get reading it. It's kind of my hope.
Yeah. I get to discover things when I'm writing too. It's mostly that you go in, like, I'm writing this story right now. It's a second story in my Tales of the Norse Gods thing that I'm putting together. I wrote the first story for a charity anthology a couple of years ago. And basically, this line popped into my head. I'm standing at the gates of hell holding a chicken. And this is the Norse hell, by the way, not the Christian hell. And I'm going, why is he standing at the gates of hell? This is the main character, Loki, who's actually a hero and a good guy, but that's a different thing. Anyway, but he's standing. Why is he standing holding a chicken? I didn't know why he was standing there holding a chicken, only that the chicken knew things. The chicken had secrets. That's all I knew. And then I started researching, if there was any significance to chickens in Norse mythology.
Yes.
And it turns out that there are 3 roosters associated with Ragnarok.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So now the chicken is a rooster of Ragnarok. So that's fun. This is the origin story of one of the roosters of Ragnarok, at least in part. So.
Yeah. Well, no, that's cool. I mean, for me. So Alice in Wonderland as Greek mythology worked way better than I thought it would. Like, I'm not kidding you. It was like I literally met a girl in the bar with a Gorgon tattoo, and that was literally where the whole idea of mashing the Greek mythology. Just that's where it started. Didn't fully germinate. It's like, what if I make Alice Pandora? Oh, not only does that work, it really works. It's almost like it's too good to be true. And I'm writing this like epic poetry kind of like Alice in Wonderland thingamabob here. And like and so I use Jason the Argonauts as the villain in this story. So it's like that'd be really cool if Alice's quote unquote labors playing the game in this labyrinth comes head to head with some of Jason's history, past and future, right? And so the Argos showed up, Hercules just showed up. There's like, so this is like this crazy like thing of like melding mythology with what I'm telling, and it's turned into something I never. Very fitting. It is like the most surreal thing, and I add a little Carl Jung because it's Alice in Wonderland, and suddenly you got this weird like, what did I do? I'm smarter / dumber than I thought. I don't know.
Yeah, mashing up mythologies is fun because I did a little of that in Past Legends, and I'm going to be doing more of it later on in the series. But like in the first book, Nostradamus is basically the antagonist of the book.
That's awesome.
It's the main characters are from Camelot. They're the women of Camelot: Nimue, Morgan Le Fay, Isolde, and Vivian, who's the Lady of the Lake, and poor Martin, who's the token male.
Token male.
Yeah, he is. He's the token male of the group. He's sort of like the character, the character when you have the male quest, you have the female that tags along. She's sort of being rescued all the time. Doesn't really know what she's doing. Well, that's Martin. He's a guy.
That's okay. I've seen that. So for me, right. I remember when there was this I can't remember this cartoon's name, but they actually made the equivalent of like a blonde getting laid all the time as a guy. Not all there up here, but he's getting every girl in the campus. Like every girl, sooner or later, every time you see him, he's either doing something really stupid or he's getting laid. There's no middle ground, right? And then you're looking at that, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Oh my God, they just reversed the whole trope. It's funny, but it's so true. I mean, a lot of the tropes that exist, you can put them on anybody and they can work just about. The trick is can you do it with conviction? Sounds like the token male thing. You did it with conviction. So
yeah. Well, he's the inexperienced wizard. He doesn't know what he's doing because he's just starting out being a wizard. So it makes sense that he's sort of the token guy because he's got 4 women who've been around for centuries and are literally the strongest witches in the world at this point, and he's just Yeah, let them do all the hard stuff because I don't know what I'm doing, and they scare me anyway. It's like, yeah, they're scary. Let them do the hard stuff, and I'll just stand over here and try not to get killed.
That's how you get scary. You start doing all the hard stuff because
Yeah,
eventually it's like I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need anybody, and everybody's like one of the biggest like cool things about me doing the show. I've interviewed like everybody, and then like I said, it's a blur. But one thing I have in common with pretty much everybody I've interviewed, especially like badass scary women. Almost every woman I've interviewed on here is a badass scary woman. Sometimes they don't realize it's like, oh, I'm doing this, and this, and I'm like, I don't got my life anywhere near as put together as you. How the fuck are you doing all this stuff, right?
well, women are far better at pretending we know what we're doing than guys are. Yeah, those badass women probably don't know any more what they're doing than you do. We just do it better with the pretending that we know what we're doing.
There's a way you carry yourself. Like it's like there's three, like for example, you know Katie Celeste, right? You know Katie. She's a badass, total legit badass, but she doesn't know it. Half the time she just doesn't know. She's hosting, she's writing, she's editing, she's raising her kids, she's figuring out her life, and I'm sure there's days like, what the heck am I doing, right? And that's literally like her thing, but she's got it really together in a lot of ways, and it's just like, whoa. Then I like someone like I don't know if you ever saw the conversation with Kelsey Hoople. This is a woman that's doing physical labor. She writes kind of her passion, so it's serving others, and she's doing like incredible mental health stuff. And I'm like, damn, wow. Like, and I just think as a general rule of thumb, with most people, it's very, very, we take for granted how amazing we are. Hey, Doris, welcome to the show. We're talking about awesome, badass people. That includes yourself. Hi, how goes?
Hi.
This is AF Stewart. She also tends to follow the Twitch streams. Really, I think you're my other secret silent lurkers most of the time. I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, I try, but sometimes you tend to come in on when I have supper and I'm doing the dishes. So that's probably why I'm not commenting a lot, because I have you up on the microwave listening to you while I'm doing the dishes. So
yes, it's all good. No, I don't mind. Like that's what this show is. I mean, this is casual conversations, and so like when I initially did the show, like the show's evolved. Like when I started the show, it was half hour to an hour. Now we're like an hour to 2 hours. So I went from a going to the train, going to work podcast to a workout podcast to now I'm doing something podcast. And while I'm doing something, I'm going to listen to you. And when I'm done doing it, I'm probably going to shut you off because you talked for like an hour and I got shit to do. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Right? My favorite shows, like I tend to model my show after my favorite shows. And so my favorite stuff, like whereas Joe Rogan was like Howard Stern, Larry King, Tom Schneider, like Larry King, Tom Schneider are big for me. I like those longer conversations. So
yeah, I like the longer conversations. It's just sometimes I just don't have the time for it, which is
exactly.
a shame.
You got shit to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to sit down and watch all the YouTube videos and podcasts and stuff, and sometimes I do.
Well, yeah, there's some good stuff out there. Like
yeah, it's like
got a fun show.
Yeah, it's like Tuesdays. There's Jazza and Nerdy Crafter and Tasting History with Max Miller. Oh, I love that show so much. Oh yeah, he's not very long. He's usually about 15 minutes. So
15 minutes that's a decent, like I think.
Yeah, but he takes recipes from history, recreates them, and does little history bits about what the recipe, the book, or the recipe. Oh, but he's so funny. I love that show. He's got a new segment now called Drinking History, so that should be fun too.
So like my favorite like history show for the last like 3 years has been Drunken History, getting people drunk as they tell what they think their history is. And having actors actually act out everything. Oh my god, it is. Everybody has fun with that show because it's like there's the real history, and then there's everybody getting drunk, and then the actors. It's almost like you can watch the actors slowly but surely ham it up, and it's funny is how, because it's like they said what? Okay, how can we do this and not just burst out laughing in the middle of the scene, right?
Yeah.
Right. But but no, there's like these cool niches like everywhere, and people, again, it's just who we are. We obsess over stuff. We get like really obsessed in things, and we enjoy them. And it's, I think, the honest thing, one of the, I think, our life goals, life purposes kind of deals, figure out what you're obsessed about and pursue it to whatever degree you want to pursue it. And because, it's great. It would be great to see, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I do have my obsessions. History for one of them. Oh, I love history and true crime. I'm a true crime nut.
You like figuring out the story of what happened.
I like the psychology of it more than the mystery or the story. I prefer the ones where they've actually solved the crime, and then you see how they solved it, like the forensic shows and the stuff like that. And
I'm happy. I'm 50. I'm like real forensic shows. Yes, not CSI. I found.
Oh no! I mean, yeah, they're kind of fun to put on in the background and just entertain yourself sometimes when you're bored. But no, they're not real shows. I'm talking about things like Forensic Files and a lot of the HL, is it HLN, Headline News, whatever, that CNN offshoot, whatever it is in the States. They have a lot of forensic shows. They've got Forensic Files and Sex and Murder and Very Scary People. That one's all about serial killers.
And friends like serial killers.
I'm sorry, I have a fascination with serial killers. It's the psychology. I mean, first of all, I am not a serial killer.
Possibly.
I am just a horror writer who takes inspiration from serial killers sometimes, but I am not one. But the psychology of it is fascinating because somewhere along their history, in most serial killers, there is a point where if somebody had just stopped what they were doing or had not done it at all, they wouldn't be a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that fascinates me, that the point in the psyche where it just snaps to the point where you just do weird and horrible things to other people.
Well, yeah, there comes a point when you, like, a lot of serial killers are predators. Ultimately, they become predators, and a lot of that stems from the fact that usually, at least at the start, they were prey. They felt that they were victims, or they were, and I mean, it's not all of them. Some, like, there's some unique cases for sure, but by and large, most people actually, it's how we're pushed. It's if you treat someone like they're scum, garbage, selfish, you treat them as a lesser than a human being, sooner or later they will turn on you. Doesn't matter who, what, when, what. Like, eventually, because you're a human being. You're not going to take it forever, right? And you're eventually going to say, well, fuck you. I'm me. I'm going to take what I want. If you don't want to give it to me, I'll just take it. Yeah. And there's and again, documentary. Very cool. I haven't seen Mindhunter. Like I said, Dory, I'm not cool. I'm just not cool. I probably should watch the show at some point. Yeah. I'm still watching Fairy Tale. I mean, I'm just being like
that one's on my list. I haven't seen it yet, but
it's long. It's long. It's long, and there's definitely points where I'd be like, yeah, I can see why you'd stop. But the characters, I love the characters. Like, they are very humane in spite of all the craziness you see in that show. It's like they're these really touching moments, and you just do a few arcs, and you get to see all these characters' backstories, and you're like, this is incredible. Like, and this is a kid show. Why can't we have cool kid shows anymore? Like, seriously. Like, I mean, I can't call Harley Quinn a kid's show. I wouldn't make a kid watch that. Like, we don't do good cartoons anymore, Anita. We just don't. Why don't we?
We don't. No. There are no Pinky and the Brains anymore.
No, or Darkwing Ducks.
No Darkwing Ducks. No. Or DuckTales. They've all gotten hip and cool and and too much of themselves, I think. But although Gravity Falls was pretty good, the recent one,
I didn't get to see Gravity. The last
and Phineas and Ferb, it's not on anymore.
So
But
the
Phineas and
last
Ferb was
really
good.
cool show. There's two really cool shows, and it's pretty cool because I got to interview Elsa Garza, who drew Avatar: The Last Airbender. Is damn cool.
Yeah.
So is I'm also a Samurai Jack guy. I like Samurai. I like me some Samurai Jack. That from North America. That's it. And I feel
Yeah.
very sad. That's it. It's like, guys, if there's any cool cartoons, and I know I'm still like 12, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being 12 years old the rest of my life. If there's any cool cartoons, I'd love to hear it. Suggestions. But no, but in terms of like the human psyche, um, we create our own monsters. I mean, it's the one thing I've learned is like the monsters that are in our worlds and life is a reflection of the society we're in. Often enough, and that's how we breed the monsters we breed. And that's not always the case. Like I said, there some people are sociopaths. Some people there are some exceptions to that rule, but I mean, it goes wrong somewhere along the way. But more often than not, it's our problems. It's our problems and our unwillingness to look honestly in solving them that breeds
Yeah.
these kind of monsters.
Yeah, most monsters are made, not born,
Yeah.
which is a shame, really, because I mean they don't have to be.
No.
But it's a perpetual cycle because I mean people who are abused, the abusers were often abused, and so it goes back to the grandfather, the father, the son, and keeps going along the line, and that's never stops.
And eventually, I mean, with the way things are going, it's going to be granddaughter, daughter, mom,
Yeah.
daughter. It's the same thing. Like you have to break these cycles of abuse, and it's recognizing where it's hard because I think we're all damaged somewhat. I mean, somewhat, some way. We're all a little damaged.
Yeah, I
And
mean that's inevitable because you're eventually going to hit something that it's somebody who says something or even unintentionally. A lot of damage is done unintentionally by people, and so yeah, you're all going to have a little damage, and you're going to have to learn how to live with that. But some damage is just really not shouldn't be allowed at all.
it's hard though because it sometimes in prevention you create more damage.
This is
like
true too.
Right? It's sometimes like ironically like the in a perfect world we have the freedom to kind of do whatever we want. We are allowed to make mistakes, and there are ways to learn and grow from them. When systems are in place to try to maintain a certain cycle, that's when we tend to repeat our mistakes. And I found like history tends to repeat itself all the time. And more often than not, it's amazing to me, especially in the last year, just how much we ignore history all the time.
Yeah, because we believe lies instead of what actually happened. That's what I found in researching history, that a lot of people, they believe lies because they're taught lies, which is a shame. Because I mean, like one of my other interests is polar exploration, and Robert Perry is the one who's credited with discovering the North Pole or going to the North Pole first or whatever they call it. But that may not be true, which I found interesting. But nobody ever talks about that in school. It's Robert Perry. He's the one that was the first guy to the North Pole. But no, he may have faked his information, and he may be a fraud. So yeah, but they never teach that in school.
Well, I think one of the more interesting ones. I read a book from Robert Temple called he was talking about the history of lenses, right? Which it's an interesting thing. Very early in the book, he talks about ancient Egypt had bifocals.
Yeah.
But when England discovered that, they actually tried to downplay that fact because they didn't want, because it takes a really advanced, reading glasses is actually a very advanced form of science. It takes a very, very smart culture to be able to actually come up with something like that. And the ancient Egyptians did it thousands of years ago. So a lot of their lenses, when you put them in terms of trying to identify stuff, well, no, they don't work that way because they were actually reading glasses. right? And as reading glasses, they're wonderful. But as
Yeah.
for like skull, like how they were originally credited, no, they weren't. But again, at the time, um, like when the British discovered this, they said, nope, we're not going to say that because we want credit for being this advanced and progressive culture. We don't want to say this came first.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting thing because it's finding. I don't know if there's necessarily a right history. The farther back, again, the farther forward we go, the harder it is to go back and be accurate. But what you try to do is you try to look at the facts that you know are true, right? Like try to be as informed an opinion and just be open to the fact that hey, I only got bits and pieces. I
Yeah.
mean, I might be completely off base, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm researching history right now because I'm writing historical fantasy set in 15th century Venice. And when I was researching that, I assumed when I was researching Venice, it was like the other Italian city states at the time, ruled by the prince or what. But it's not. It's actually very much a republic in a lot of ways. It's
Mm-hmm.
very much like the Roman Republic. They've kind of built their entire system like on the old Roman Republic system instead of the Italian nobility system, which is interesting. And the nuns had a heck of a lot more power than you think in Venice, which was
Oh yeah,
fun. I
no,
wrote that in the book.
yeah. Well, it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like again, everybody had their own way. As long as it works, people there's all kinds of different ways to run things.
yeah.
The big and ultimate mandate is does it work? Um,
And they were also surprisingly, I mean, for the time, surprisingly racially and religiously tolerant too, which I found interesting. I mean, there was still bigotry, of course, because it's 15th century Venice, but surprisingly, a lot of the gondoliers were black or Arab who used to be slaves or whatever. They were freed slaves, and they were now gondoliers and had their own jobs
oh,
and made a lot of pretty good money, actually.
we're still bigoted today. Like bigotry will
Yeah,
never fully go away.
no, that's for
No.
sure.
Um, I've said this on other podcasts, and I'll say it here. Like the very nature of intelligence discerns difference. That will always be the case. It's teaching the wisdom of saying, okay, that's really, really, really. I mean, moving past those differences and seeing what you have in common, that takes wisdom. And again, there was a point too. I mean, back in the day when, again, city states, you didn't know what the other cities around you were going to be like. You weren't going to be necessarily trusting in what was around you. So they used that stuff to actually, like, make it.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, it's created a lot of prejudice to go to today. And again, you're not going to undo that anytime soon. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's interesting though how the slave trade evolved because originally it was somewhat black slaves, from northern Africa and a little bit in the interior Africa, and a lot of Arab and the Eastern European states as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when the sugar plantations started in the New World that they started really rolling out the black slavery because they were unfortunately cheap labor to get.
So I read a really cool book called The Energy of Slaves. Talk about it's the history of the oil industry, but talk about also why slavery existed. And it was a really cool take on the Civil War, which was okay. What the Civil War was ultimately about, it was automation versus manpower,
Mm.
ultimately, because what it was now that you have this oil, you can create this like vast abundance with far less manpower than you had with a slave plantation. And it's funny because I mean that kind of is still echoing today in terms of look at I spent my like my year kind of this year about going back and forth between temp jobs, but a lot of these I'm doing a lot of these mini labor jobs, and almost every single one of them can be replaced right now. Just they're no longer. I hate this word after the last 2 years, but they're no longer as essential as they once were. Right? You can get a machine to do those parts more efficiently. But what do you do with the people now that they're no longer doing those jobs? right? And I think like Civil War was ultimately about there was a way of life that worked for a particular group of people they did not want to change, and everybody else was changing and progressing. And the North versus the South was about oil versus people.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of the conflict today, a lot of conflict today, um, is now about like uh, almost the same thing. We're still doing the automation versus manpower argument, but now it's interesting because guys like me or younger, a lot of their job, like I'm looking at driving, right? Driving is a big, like there's Uber Eats right now and all these other delivery drivers.
Yeah.
Well, if you get a machine that can drive a car, which isn't that far off, how do you employ all these people going forward? Because that
Yeah, there's just if the machine drives the car, there's still no two-door delivery though. The person has to come out to get the stuff, unless you got a robot in the car. So you might still need a person there for
for a short
delivery.
time, for a short term maybe, but
Yeah,
long term no.
I'm sure they'll find some way to do it though.
Oh no, that's what
Although although Amazon's drone delivery didn't work out too well, but
no, no, it didn't. But I mean, but here's the thing: like they're trying it. Sooner or
yeah,
later, someone's going to figure out a way to do that. And once
yeah.
that happens, again, we're like the automation movement. You can make the argument started in the Civil War.
Well, it may have even started before then because I mean,
Yeah,
the Industrial Revolution was the same thing. The Industrial Revolution took away people's jobs because the machines came in and did things and they needed less people. And you could say the same thing back when the Black Plague came in medieval times because it wiped out most of the population of Europe and you no longer had farming uh, people to do the farming, and a lot of them moved to the city to get jobs, and it kind of just killed the entire serf uh, industry way of life, and they had to change. It's so I mean it. These things have been going on throughout history for
Hmm.
centuries. So
Oh yeah. It's amazing how they all repeat themselves, though, isn't
yeah,
it? Right? It's over and over and over again. It's the same story. And it's like you look at today and you're like, well, I've seen where some of the story has gone in the past. I kind of wonder where it's going to go into the future. But I don't know. Like I said, that's what we're all speculating now going forward. That all said, we talk about history. The other cool thing about history though is mythology,
yeah.
stories.
My other obsession.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
especially Celtic mythology. That's my main
Interesting.
obsession.
Interesting.
Because that's well, I'm Scottish, so I grew up, and grew up in Nova Scotia. So you can't grow up in Nova Scotia and not hear ghosts and fairies and brownies and whatever the heck else they have out there at the moment. You know, banshees and whatever. So I mean, it's all over the place in Nova Scotia and in being Scottish. I grew up with that, so that was sort of what I gravitated towards, especially the Irish stuff and King Arthur legends too. But I also studied a little Greek mythology and Norse mythology, and I love Japanese mythology. That is so
Too.
freaking
I like
interesting.
I like the Shinto. A lot of the Shinto concepts are really cool. Wow,
Yeah,
really, really, really
but
cool.
I mean, their mythology, especially in even other Asian mythologies, their monsters are just freaky. There's
Yes.
no other word for it because I mean, there's no. They're just they come in and they kill you, and that's about it. There's no hope. I mean, they just come in and they kill whoever they've decided is going to be their victim. But a lot of them, because I mean, I'm currently writing Snow White is a Japanese medieval ghost story.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is because it's interesting. I mean, I've cut out a lot of things like there's no seven dwarfs, there's no huntsman. It's just basically it's come down to the Japanese version of the Evil Queen and the Japanese version of Snow White in a death battle at the end, basically.
I can think of a couple interesting ways to tell that. But so is your Snow White smarter than Snow White and Grimm's fairy tales? Please, I hope so.
Well, my Snow White gets killed.
Yeah.
And comes back as a Japanese ghost. And if you know anything about Japanese ghosts, you know that basically they're forces in nature and evil queens in big trouble.
A kami? Like she's a kami then?
I'm not sure. There was the don't ask me to pronounce Japanese. Osuku, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I've got notes.
You got notes. You know what you're doing, kind of.
Yes, I know what I'm doing. I have notes. I just can't remember the names. It's like, no, that's why I have notes, so I don't have to remember these things. So
I got into Japanese mythology, ironically enough, playing Magic the Gathering. There's a set called Champions of Kamigawa. Now, in hindsight, they didn't like that set. I love that set. It's like from the folklore concept, the mythology concept, so cool. Game-wise, mechanic-wise, I see why they hated it, but the mythology was damn cool. And that's when I learned a lot about Kitsuine, the fox spirits, the kami, the orochis, the anis, all the different and then some of the games I played Japanese RPGs, it expanded my knowledge of that, and I started doing some of my own research into stories. My favorite thing about Asian mythology is, I love their dragons. I love it. They're neat. They're not like ours at all.
No, they're a lot more interesting in a lot of ways too. Because I mean, they have specific. I don't know if jobs is the right word, but they have specific niches in Japanese and Chinese mythology.
So you read mythology? Do you think it's just mythology, or do you think it was at least on some level once upon a time real?
Oh, I don't know. I grew up. I found a book of Grimm's fairy tales when I was a kid, and I read it, and that's just kind of like, oh, that was fun. And it's like, and then I had a book on Greek mythology, Edith Hamilton's.
Yeah, I read that when I was a kid too.
Yeah, and it's just like I just had all these old books were just hanging around because I mean I'm the last of 7 kids, right? So they left all their books behind, and I read them.
That's right. You got there faster than all of them. I got all their weird stuff.
I mean, they had some of these were college age books because I mean there's great big book of of English poetry. That's kind of how I got into poetry a little bit because I just started reading that book. And Shakespeare, they had a book of Shakespeare, so I read his plays. It's like because I was sick a lot as a kid. That was just me and books. And when I ran out of books that I'd bought, I just went into the other room and raided the shelves and read that stuff.
Fair enough. I mean, I it's cool. I've always kind of been kind of keep an open mind to everything. I've seen enough strange things in life to make me go, this world's bigger than me, and I don't have any answers. Right?
Well, I'd love to have some of it real, and part of me does want to believe there's a Loch Ness monster. So.
Might be. I mean,
and a part of me wants to believe the Loch Ness monster is an actual dragon. So who knows?
It might be, for all you know.
Yeah. I mean, that would explain a lot. Invisible dragon in the lake. That's why nobody sees it. Just saying.
Maybe, or maybe or maybe once upon it maybe just went somewhere else. I mean, just maybe got tired of human beings one day and just said, you know what, I don't need this. I mean, I tend to think at one point or another we all. I always tend to believe at one point or another there's something about the story that is real. Even if it no longer exists or there, like I have a tendency to believe that all this stuff is possible, and it may seem foolish to some people, but I look at it like this way: I'd rather live in a world of infinite possibilities, and I just say, you know what, I don't know anything, so it's like I got all the answers, and this world is this nice little neat little box because in those moments when the box is broken, so are you, right? So
yeah, I mean, you kind of live. I think it's nice to kind of live in reality where things are sad, but then not in reality where things are not so sad, because it gives you a certain amount of. I think human beings as a whole have to have some sort of faith in something, because they they can't live without faith. Even atheists have faith. They have faith there is no God.
Well, it's just like it's like faith. When you break down the argument of faith, faith really comes down to really one question: is there more to life than what we see, hear, touch, and taste? I think the most honest answer we can all have. We may not agree that there's a God, but we all hope there's more because, goddamn, that if this is all there is, I mean, in one sense, it's incredibly sad. If life is simply my favorite line, one of my favorite quotes from the mix is, "If how do you define real? If real is simply what we see, touch, taste, hear, then real is nothing more than stimuli. And if that's the case, nothing really is real. But if there is something more out there, then all of this is real." And I think that's an amazing thing. So when you hear this, like this is all there is, or this is real, it's like, I think we all kind of wish for more because there is more, isn't there?
Yes, I think there is more
Yeah.
somewhere. But I mean, if it's just what happens tomorrow. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You have no idea. No one does.
No,
Unless you're a psychic, then maybe. But
I have some friends who claim even they'll tell you like, no, it don't work like
I
that.
mean, so you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, and so how can you say what's real because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow?
Oh,
You could walk out the door and meet your soulmate or the guy you're gonna or the girl you're gonna marry or whatever, or you could walk out the door and get hit by a bus. Either one is entirely possible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, there's no such thing as a safe world. It doesn't exist. Like, there's no safety is the true illusion. The only real truth about the world is that the world constantly changes, and while you're here, you're going to constantly change with the world. Anything else is a lie. Like anything else is a lie.
Yeah. The only constant in the world, there are only two things that are constant in this world: death and change.
I actually would argue just change. Who knows? I sincerely hope. Like I did this as my Wednesday motivation. I actually gave a little bit away of what I'm working on with Alice One. There's just a scene where the cat and right before they fight the Hydra, Alice is scared. So is some of the other characters there. I'm not gonna spoil it because I know Dory wants to read it. But there's this line, there's a conversation about like, and the cat goes to her, "We're all supposed to die." And it's like that's grim. It's like no, it's the only way we will actually find out what life is all about. If there was no, if we lived forever, there'd be no meaning to life. And but right, anything can happen at any time. And Alice goes, "Well, that makes life kind of scary." He's like, but that's the thing. Like that's the bravest thing you can do. And then I go, but like, it sounds scary. It's like, what do you think everybody here is doing? But just facing their fears, right? Life is an exercise in going forward in the face of fear, and right, and I think that's when, as a species, we're at our best when we come to terms with that and go, okay, we're going to move forward anyway, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what the future holds. We go and we say to ourselves, you know what? We gotta keep going. We gotta keep doing it. Um, tomorrow, might be a giant apocalypse. Everybody dies. Tomorrow, we all live happily ever after, and everybody's getting together again, and it's the greatest, biggest orgy of all time, right? Or tomorrow, or the day after, it could be like, tomorrow just rains. It's something as simple and mundane as that. And every day it's different. Every day there's ups and downs. It's like there's no stability. Everything changes. I think that's probably our greatest gift.
Yeah. Well, that's what most people don't get either, is because they expect everything to be perfect all the time. But it's not perfect. There is no perfection in the world at all.
No.
It's just, yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Hopefully it all averages out in the end. So,
well, life isn't fair. I mean, that's the one thing.
oh no, life's not fair.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not fair at all, right?
But if it was fair, I'd be a millionaire. But anyway,
no. If it was fair, most of us would be dead. Let's be perfectly clear.
Well, this is true too.
Most of us would be dead. That's not even like. That's not sure.
Yeah. Sometimes life is unfair in our favor.
Well, actually, more often than not, it is. The fact that it is unfair. It is unfair. If life was fair in terms of everything I've done in my life, every mistake I've made, I'd probably be dead. Like, to be perfectly honest with you, right? If life was, and I think for most of us that's the truth. That's the absolute truth, because I don't know about you. I'm a fuck up. I'm just an honest fuck up. That's the only thing about me. Is like I got things I had to work on and things I had to learn. And if life was fair, I never would have learned and grown from those things. The fact that it's unfair means the best thing about the fact of life being unfair is every day is a second chance. Every day is a new possibility. Every day is another chance. And if life was fair, that wouldn't be guaranteed. But that means that everybody, no matter where you are in life, can change. You can change your perspectives, your way of like how you believe things. You could tomorrow you can say, you know what, I'm going to be a fairy princess. And you know what? Who am I to argue with you, right? You want to do that? You can
No, I would never wake up and say, I'm going to be, if I ever wake up and you see I'm going to be a fairy princess on my Facebook page, I've been kidnapped.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
I am never going to be a fairy princess.
But the point is, you can make that decision if you wanted to. That was why I said, like, I didn't think you personally choose it. But, you know, I mean, I don't judge anymore. God.
I mean, I'm nothing against fairy princesses, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people who like fairy princesses, and that's fine, dandy, and great. But no, it's just not me. So,
or how about tomorrow? You'd be a rock star. Dye your hair black, like a bandana, turn your reading glasses to shades, and just
probably. I mean, the shades and everything. Yeah, but yeah, I would never be a rock star because my singing voice sucks.
It doesn't stop some rock stars.
I mean, I can pull the look off, sure.
It's Like you said, I'm just gonna be a freaking rock star. I'm gonna look the part, and you're gonna believe it, and everybody's gonna be like, I'm gonna believe it, right? That's the cool.
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards a little more towards the goth look myself. I think I like black. Probably without so much makeup, though.
Be like the happiest goth. Actually, truthfully, goths are some of the happiest people I know. Honest to God, they are some of the sweetest people I've ever met. You see them get like they look this mean and growling thing, and then you offer them a skull, and then you just kind of watch them melt. It's kind of one of the weird. I don't fully understand the skull thing, but it was like one of those things I just noticed. It was like,
yeah, well, if you see, skulls are fun.
Yes. Oh, I actually joke with some women if I go on dates, like, what do you prefer, chocolate or skulls?
Chocolate skulls.
There you go. Yeah. Again, how to get into Anita's heart, ladies and gentlemen. You eat chocolate skulls.
Yes, basically that is how you get into my heart. Send me chocolate skulls, and I'll be a happy girl.
This is the chocolate skull edition of Just Jossing, episode 621. That's how I'm going to advertise this episode. You know that, right?
Well, I am a huge chocoholic. I mean, anything chocolate.
Most of them are.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, a friend of mine gave me that big of chocolate, bag of chocolate, Lindt chocolate. It was gone by the end of January. I'm just saying.
It's okay. I don't judge. I showed Christina Z a chocolate crack. So there's a chocolate place in Calgary, Alberta. It's a chocolate factory. It is literally the best chocolate I've ever had. It's not even close. Like nothing else you've had will touch this place. They're starting to like distribute a little bit more. It's like I'll show you. I could show you the catalog, and you'll be like, I hate you, Josh. My money, it burns. It actually went on fire when I saw this place because if you go there, they'll make it in front of you. It's just like it's snacks chocolate. They'll make the chocolate combination, and their candy bars are expensive, but they're worth it. Like my God, it's like then afterwards you can't go to a convenience store and never have that chocolate again because you're like, this is so bad comparatively. It's just so bad.
Yeah, well, I don't have that problem. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the high-end chocolate, but I'll eat the low-end chocolate. I'll eat I'll even eat the really bad chocolate.
No. Here's the deal. You have that chocolate. No, you won't. Like you'll be like, nope, nada, done. I'm gonna just like again. Your money will burn. You will support that factory until the day you die. You'll be like, you know what? It was worth it. Right, because it's the good stuff. It's like I'm not kidding you, Anita. It's chocolate crack. I'm not even like joking. It's just like one of my ex-girlfriends took me to this place. It's like, oh, this is the place for chocolate. It's like I didn't believe her. Oh no, she was right. I was wrong. I was totally wrong, and I'm okay being wrong. Sometimes being wrong leads you to great rights, and that place is right. Chocolate crack. That's right.
Well, one day maybe I'll try it. Who knows?
Yeah, I, 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 I can give you the website when it's over. We'll just you'll be like, okay, I'll try it. Then I'll get like an email, an angry email, in like a couple months. Damn you, you're right. I can't go back. This is good stuff.
I still say I mean I will eat chocolate anywhere, anytime, on anything for any reason whatsoever. So I may give you props that is the number one chocolate in the world, but I'll still eat any chocolate.
So,
It doesn't matter.
it's okay, Anita. So darker milk. What's your prep? What's your prep?
I like the dark chocolate the best. I also like white chocolate, surprisingly.
I'm 50-50 with white chocolate. I find that there's a
It's
borderline.
it's
It's a
sweet.
border with it's not even like it's not the sweet. It's also just the fact that like there's just a line. It almost like maybe it is because it's so sweet. Where it tastes so sweet, it's like it doesn't taste real anymore. I find white chocolate crosses that line a lot more than even milk chocolate does. And milk chocolate sometimes I get that way too. It's like, it's a little too much.
Yeah, I'd actually prefer to eat white chocolate over milk chocolate in some cases. It depends on the chocolate, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's the smoothness of the white chocolate that I like because it depends too. Because I mean, some white chocolate can be really too sweet, and it's just like no. But this white chocolate has a certain smoothness that you don't get with the milk chocolate, which I like.
Yeah, I get you. So we're talking. I didn't think we'd be talking chocolate connoisseurs. Like we went to chocolate. We went from history to chocolate crack. I'm just saying. That's where we went. Like we really went there.
Well,
right?
like I said, I have a lot of weird obsessions. Yeah,
there's not.
we can go into the Pikachu theory if you want, but
the Pikachu theory.
I have a theory about the Pokemon show.
Okay.
First of all, I have an obsession about Pikachu. I don't know why. I just am obsessed with Pikachu.
Okay.
Don't particularly like any of the other Pokemon. Not into Pokemon, but I have an obsession with Pikachu. I don't know why. He's just cute. But so I watched the Pokemon TV show, and I have a theory that the Pokemon TV show is actually about a virtual alien experiment.
Okay.
Because I mean, think about it. It resets all the time. Nobody ever remembers what they do in the previous seasons. Ash never grows up. And they are training Pokemon to fight. They have been kidnapped by aliens, are in a virtual environment, and they're being trained to be warriors. And Team Rocket is actually the good guys because they're trying to stop it.
Well. They said in the mantra to protect the world from devastation.
Yes, exactly.
In our nation, to denounce the evils, truth and love.
Truth and love. And what is Pokemon but truth and love? So exactly.
To extend our reach to the stars above, and that's going to be my head till the day I die. Because okay. Let's be honest. I'll never mature, but they're like I was just old enough that I could respect Pokemon, just young enough where I could respect it, but just old enough that it was just slightly too. I didn't catch the craze some of the other people did. But now it's like it's just a part of pop culture. I I'm drawing for I do a drawing bid for Monk Art drawing bid, so I'll just show you real quick. Not my Macho Man. This was Mew from Pokemon.
Oh, that's cute. That's not bad at all.
No, I almost I've gotten good at this drawing thing almost. And since you mentioned, so I'll show you here. Those two should probably look familiar. To protect the world from devastation.
Yeah.
And all peoples within our nation. Almost got them. I mean, it's definitely still got to work on that, but at least it was close. Here was my biggest failure though. Surprisingly, Jigglypuff is incredibly hard to draw.
Yeah, I wouldn't think Jigglypuff is, but I guess it could because you've got to get the circle completely
Yeah.
round to be a good Jigglypuff, and those circles are tough. All right.
Yeah, well, no, I just yeah. It's like sometimes when you draw, right, the things that seem that you think, oh, they're gonna be so easy, kick your ass.
Oh yeah.
They're like, that'll teach me to think that. Then the same you
Yeah.
come to
One
super.
of the shows I watch on YouTube, Chloe Rose Art. Yeah, she can't draw circles. She's a great artist, but she has real trouble drawing circles. So yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it's just there's tools, right? Like I think the biggest thing about drawing that really surprised me was the amount of math that's actually in drawing.
Oh yeah.
I never would have imagined that until I actually started doing it myself. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're drawing a face, there's like the eyes are halfway down the face, the nose is a certain amount under the eyes, and the mouth is under that. And then you've got the line down the middle and the guidelines in the face and everything. So yeah, I studied all that. I'm getting back into my drawing. I'll show you one of mine that I just did.
sure.
I've been practicing with my new alcohol markers. Now the blade didn't come out perfect, but the top part of it, because I drew the obsidian blades dagger from my historical fantasy, and let's see if I can get that on camera.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a rondelle dagger from the Renaissance.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. That's really
Yeah.
really cool.
The hilt came out good. The blade did not come out so good. I was trying blending with the alcohol markers, and I still need practice. So, but it's not too bad.
I gotta get me some colors because I think my stuff will pop when I start getting into color. Like I said, I'm in a weird space personally right now. On one hand, I'm more of a freelance. Like I've done more like 5 weeks of freelancing, and I've secured myself. I've done okay for a start. But it's like I don't know what the future is gonna hold for me for the next little bit. So I'm in this like weird like time zone. It's like, well, things seem to be rolling in a certain direction, so we'll just kind of see what happens and where we go from here. And that's what I'm watching and seeing and doing, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I also think I think my days of being a normal working guy are pretty much done. So
Yeah, normal working is overrated anyway. So
yeah, it is. It is. The only thing about it is a steady paycheck, and sometimes
yeah,
it's actually handy. Sometimes it's handy, but other times you're like, no, I'd just rather do this. Like I also recognize this too. Like I'm not wired that way anymore. And what I'm going through right now, I think, is what every person goes through when they make a transition. Those ups and downs and uncertainties is just going to be part of life for a little while until I have a sense of where I belong and where I'm going. And I think that's one of the hardest things. I don't know. Do you still have a day job?
no, I've gotten kind of semi-retired, get a little fixed investment income, so it keeps me afloat. So, and I'm trying to get my side gigs up and running.
So what's your plans for world domination?
Well, I'm trying to dominate with art at the moment. I've got my pre-made cover business I'm trying to get off the ground, and I got my Redbubble store I'm trying to invigorate with designs, which is fun because I like doing the art. What?
Redbubble's cool. Hey-o, it's Jagtress. Hey, Jag, what's up? This is Anita.
Hi.
Anita likes chocolate skulls. You missed our epic conversation about chocolate skulls, Jag. You missed it. I found the way to their heart. I also told her about this chocolate craft place in Calgary that's like the best chocolate you'll ever have. So, yeah. So Anita, Jack's saying hi to you.
No, I can see that.
Yeah.
So hi.
Yes. See, I told you, women like skulls.
Yeah. Well, actually, I got a present for my birthday in July. It was a hot sauce kit, and the jars were little skulls. So I have 4 jars of skull hot sauce in the fridge at the moment.
That's amazing. Skulls are your thing. I truly believe this is my epic theory because I'm Maltese and German. So something you mentioned earlier about history. Malta's history is interesting because we've been conquered by everybody. So we have a little bit of everything. When you talked about the fact that Venice was very tolerant, it didn't surprise me because like Italy is really close to like the Mediterranean Sea, and you would just see so many cultures pass through.
Yeah, and Venice was all about the money.
Yeah.
So they had their hands everywhere. Eastern Europe, Arab, Turkey, Ottoman Empire. That's what I'm going
Yeah.
for.
So
And they even had trade in from the Far East. So Venice was all about the money. So they really didn't care too much unless they started clashing with the church, and then they had to pull it back and make laws and things. Or people started honing in on their empire. So
yeah.
it's all self-serving, really.
Well, that's the thing. Money talks, bullshit rocks. I don't have time to be a bigot if you're paying me.
Exactly.
That's just like it's the most cynical way of doing it, but it's the truth, right? But what I was going to say is the other half of me is German. So I always had this theory that the barbarian side of me, probably to once upon a time an ancestor, probably to impress, because we were talking about skulls, to impress a woman. They would actually probably kill her enemies and probably show the skull, right? Like, here, I delivered it. And maybe that's this like ancient ancestry. It's like, here's the skulls of your enemies. And today we don't do that. So it's like, oh, here's chocolate skulls instead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, my ancestors used to nail the heads to their doors. So skulls. It's just a thing, I guess.
Yeah, so I just I mean, human beings are kind of crazy. Like we are always, and we always will be crazy. That is just the way it is. Like, is what we're doing really making sense? No, but we're doing it anyway. Why? We're nuts. See, and just fucking kind of move on. So going back to like world domination for a little bit, and then we'll wrap up. I think this interview is. So you're trying to get your Redbubble stuff, art stuff. You're writing like you're writing stuff. Like you're just a full blown creative at this point, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've always been an artist, even as a writer. I just kind of slowed it down there after I moved because didn't have as much room to paint and stuff. Anyway, but in 2020, I was watching all those art things on YouTube that I was talking about earlier, and it's just to kind of rekindle the art. And so I'm trying the graphic designs. I got myself a little tablet. Still learning, still a big learning curve on that, but yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to draw?
Probably landscapes because I'm good at landscapes. I'm not so good at doing figures and people, but I've done a couple of portrait things, drawings and stuff. But yeah, I do like landscapes because it's an interesting what you can do with the landscapes with the sun and the shadow and
Well, I like birds. I like one of my favorite things when I'll add landscapes because it's so easy to do is like birds. You just draw a little V and all of a sudden you got everybody knows it. The bird is flying. The bird is flying.
Yeah,
That's right.
birds are easy to get in the landscapes, especially if you're doing a seascape when you have little flying birds and they're some seagulls, aren't they nice?
I actually so for this month's drink and draw, what I'm thinking about doing, since we were talking about Pokemon earlier too, is I want Team Rocket to be blasting off again as a result of Pikachu and Ash. Like you'll see Pikachu all lightening up, and you just all you're gonna see is like this triangle in the air of like these arms and legs, kind of just like failing. Team Rocket blasting off again, right? Just that's like the we're still like I love the fact that you're like still like 12 as well as I am. It just gets like just something silly like that because um again landscape scenery like that you can tell neat stories with it. I mean it gives you something to play off of, which I think is very important for when you tell stories is no matter what you're doing you gotta play off something, right? So
Yeah, I do a lot of flowers and stuff when I'm doing the watercolors too, because flowers are easy. Again, flowers are easy to draw, and they lend themselves nicely to watercolors. And I really do need practice with my watercolors because for most of the early part of my art stuff I was doing oil paintings, and switching over to watercolors is exactly the opposite of how you oil paint. So I still need practice with the watercolors because I'm still oil painting in my head.
Well, it was that your first language? Like I kind of look at art styles as like your first language. Like for me, I do poetry because it's easy-ish for me. My style is my style. prose is kind of secondary. I have to put more details and thoughts and emotions and that shit. And it's just like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, poetry's way easier for me too than writing a book. I'd much rather write poetry books than write a novel. So yeah, I'm actually writing a new poetry book at the moment too. So
cool. Like,
yeah,
like me too. Me too. Like we were talking about earlier, the Alice in Wonderland is all poetry.
yeah. It's a collection. It's called Poetry of Monsters and Madness.
Are there serial killers in your poetry?
There have been in the past. There may end up some in this book. I actually wrote an alphabet poem, A to Z, an alphabet serial killer poem.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was a tricky one, trying to find some words that were X and Z. So,
well, I could think of a good ending to it, depending on what you've done with everything else in the middle.
Yeah, well, I believe I went with some kind of a chemical for X. I don't remember what I did for Z, but for X, I went with a chemical.
Chemical to kill somebody.
Yeah, or it was either chemical to kill or chemical to clean up the crime scene. I don't remember. It's been a while since I wrote the poem, so it's like, yeah. And then the first serial killer poem I did was actually on a dare. I wrote this poem like I was on a website that's no longer around, but we had a lot of writing groups and stuff. I was in this writing group and I posted a poem, and it was kind of this introspective mind poem, really dark emotion stuff. And I forget what the title was, but it had something like bleed in it, right? And someone dared me in the comment to write a poem about actual bleeding. So that was my first serial killer poem, where the guy fed the body into the wood chipper. So, never dare me to do anything. Just saying, I will do it. Unless it's dangerous or something, But never dare me to write anything. I will write it.
Okay. So, I'm gonna do something evil because Joe's not here. I can do something really evil. He'll listen to me and go, "What the hell did you make her do that for?" Write Joe Compton doing a fan fiction.
Oh, that is evil. Because I just got an idea. Joe Compton doing a fan fiction of Twilight.
That's right. There you go. Joe Compton will listen to this conversation at some point down there. What did you do? Like, Joe,
yeah.
I'm gonna pick on you. That's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
So,
I apologize, Joe. It's his fault.
You're not sorry. Don't lie to him.
No, I'm not sorry. But it's his fault. Don't blame me. It's his fault. I mean, Joe knows me well enough to know that when someone says something like that, it probably will happen. So.
Oh yeah, he's laughing his ass off. So wait, I want to see it. So that's right. So make sure. Hey, Jack's like hopeful. Jag, we're friends. I will make evil stuff with you too at some point. Same with Dory. I'll probably come up with something evil for you guys. See, you're friends with somebody when you can do stuff like that to them. It's not when you're nice to people. Yes, nice to people. You have to be nice. You have to respect your friends. But when you can do this kind of mean thing, quote unquote mean thing, and still respect your friend, that's when you know you have a friendship, and that really, really matters. And like I said, we both admire the heck out of Joe, right?
Yeah,
and
but I can't be too mean because technically he is my boss now. So
you can be mean, especially since you might as well be. He's your boss. You should be especially mean to
her. Well, this is true, but he's a nice boss. I mean, he's a little slow on getting the podcast out, but he's been busy, so I can.
Well, he's quietly built an empire for himself.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, he's quietly built it, and it's just like, oh, hi, I'm doing this, and this, and it's like, okay, holy crap, holy shit,
Yeah, I've been having fun doing the show for him though, with the words that kill.
Yeah, no, you're great. Like I think it's gonna be interesting. Like one of my favorite shows. I'm curious to see what spilling looks like in the fall. Is the one I'm most curious about. I don't know if I'm sure you know some of the details of that, but I'm curious to see where they're gonna go from here myself. is going to be interesting. I think I like the format of the past, but I also hope that um, it's an opportunity for Katie to change some stuff up, and I'm curious to see what Joe does in regards to that too, because it'd be kind of fun to see Joe do like cool new things with the character with the show, and I'm also curious too, like when Joe takes that big step back and plots, like when he was doing the drink and draw, we were talking about this. He wants to go make movies next year. He's making movies. I
Yeah.
can see that. Like he's going to be doing that more, and for the rest of us, it's going to be like he'll still have his hand in there. He's never going to walk away from Go Indie now, but I do see him being a little bit less hands on and be like, okay, guys, this is your world. This is your kingdom corner of the universe. What are you going to do with it? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I just did a show for him on Monday. We did a poetry for genres, which was fun. JD Estrada, me, Ed Souter was on it, and two people I'm not too familiar with, Christina and Ayla. But
Christina who?
Christina Striga, I think was her name, and Ayla, I don't remember her last name. But anyway, sorry,
What's
Ayla.
her name? And what's her name?
But actually, she was very interesting. She had some interesting things to say about her poetry and stuff. She's actually her day job is a psychologist. So.
I might have to send her my poetry. She'll probably dig it, if nothing else, for some of the Carl Jung references in the story. So, but no, it's no, like poetry is an amazing like genre, and I think again, there's some cool opportunities. You can do some neat things with indie books now. Like you can play with things in a very different way, and I think poetry lends itself to that a lot more than say a prose book does. I think people have an expectation of a prose book. You don't have that same expectation with a what am I going to say with poetry? Poetry you can kind of just play. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I mean, I like a lot of the poets I know. They're horror poets like I am, so they've done some very interesting things with their books. But I mean, I write other poems too besides the horror poetry. Most of my collections are pretty eclectic. I mean, there's only two of them that's really straight up horror, and that's the two horror haiku poetry books that I wrote. The other ones are pretty eclectic. They've got all sorts of different poems. I've even got a love poem in colors of poetry. So.
Yeah, that I believe it. Like I think I think like we mentioned this earlier with Snow White. You're a young adult writer, kind of like I find horror writers and young adult writers. They're pretty much the same. They're on the same piano. Just one plays with the white keys, one plays with the black keys. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, young adults should not read my books. Just making that clear. Don't read my books.
Don't. Like we were talking about you, except for maybe Snow White as a ghost. I think that's
don't read that one either.
Oh, you went full adult.
Yeah, I go full adult in all of my books. I mean, not sex-wise, but violence-wise. You're not going to get punches pulled with those. I mean, with my books where the pirates show up in book 3 of the Saga of the Outer Islands, yeah, they're pulling entrails out of people. So yeah.
It's totally kid stuff. What are you talking about? Totally kid.
I mean, actually, the first book in that series is probably the tamest thing I've written. And, half a town gets massacred and someone gets their soul sucked out of them. So
that's right. Anita doesn't just again, heads nailed the door ancestry, and yeah, it totally makes sense now. I mean, but I actually think you'd be a decent I think young adults and horror go together really, really well. I mean, again, Grimm's Fairy Tales is a great historical example of this. But even today, I find the best.
Okay, I disagree with that. Grimm's Fairy Tales is not young adult. Grimm's Fairy Tales has cannibalism in it.
I know. And used to read
I mean, I do not think young adults should read that. But anyway, that's
no. But here's the thing: they were read to children.
Well, no, actually, they weren't. The original books of the Grimms were written for adults. They only later adjusted the stories for children because children were reading the adult books and the adults were getting mad. So yeah, and actually the original fairy tales were were told by adults for adults. I did a fairy tale course over on Future Learns.
Okay, that's cool. No, I learned something. That's
Yeah,
right.
so fairy tales are not actually for children. I mean, originally they are now, but they weren't originally for children. They were morality tales actually for people and stuff. But
Which, that is probably a great skill. I mean, but like I said, all right, let's revise my original statement then. You'd be a good morality writer, because I find horror and that kind of like fantasy style works incredibly well together.
yeah,
You need big monsters and overcoming monsters in fairy tales to, I think, get the most impact. Even young adult, I do feel like on a young adult level that works too. Maybe not to maybe to the same degree of gore and entrails and violence and stuff, but you can still do a lot of the same things and it would work.
yeah. I mean, I suppose there is some morality in my stories. Mostly, don't go into the scary places and don't get in the murder van.
Yeah. Well, you talk about like a dare, like a true dare. Like turning Joe Compton into fan fiction is not is a fun dare. But I mean, I think I would be really curious to see what you do if you actually did like a fairy tale style story, right? I think it'd be really interesting. I think you do a great job.
Yeah, well, I've actually written several fairy tale. Like
Hmm.
I like the book I wrote, the story I wrote for fairy for no for Twist of Fate. That was the charity anthology Twist of Fate. That's a steampunk sequel to the Six Swans. If you've ever read the Six Swans, are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that one, no.
Okay, basically that is it's a fairy tale where the evil stepmother turns the six brothers into swans. In order to free her brothers, the sister has to sew six nettle shirts and keep her mouth shut. She can't say anything till the shirts are done. So the dumb prince comes along, finds her, whisks her off, marries her like they do in fairy tales. And she can't say no because she can't say anything. And then his mother doesn't like that, eats the kids, and blames it on her. She's dragged off to the stake. And at the end of the fairy tale, she finishes all but the arm of the last shirt, and she throws them up on her brothers, and they're changed from swans to men, except the sixth brother has a swan wing because he doesn't have a sleeve. And this always bugged me. It's like, what happened to the poor brother who has a swan wing? I mean, he's just living his life, one arm, one wing, right? That must have caused some issues. So I wrote him a sequel where he gets a steampunk arm instead of the wings. So. But he has to go on a quest to solve all his emotional anger issues because
I have a wing. It's like, what am I going to do with it? Yeah, that's really cool. So, Anita A.F. Stewart writer, A.F. Stewart artist, A.F. Stewart host. How does A.F. Stewart see herself?
Middle-aged woman just getting through life, basically. Just like,
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. No, I meant by that. Like, do you see yourself as one particular or do you see yourself as a writer first? Do you see yourself as an artist first? Do you see yourself as a show host
no,
first?
I'm just basically a con woman. So
You're con one, okay? Like serial killers and chocolate.
Calling everybody into believing I'm competent. So
Ah, yes, I know that story. That's my whole secret. Well, no, you probably did it first. I just stole it. I stole it fair and square. You might have to accept the fact that you might actually be competent. Maybe, maybe,
maybe.
maybe, maybe. That's right. Jag is laughing at us, or at least at me. So, but that all said, I think we have an interview here. I could be wrong, but I think we have an interview here.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, I think so. You happy with it?
Yep.
Have fun?
Yes, I did. Had lots of fun.
Good.
Poor Joe's gonna regret it.
That's right. Joe Compton, you will be fan fiction. And I'll be like, and I'm just gonna get an email one day. It's like, what did you do?
Oh, I just thought of the cash register. Yeah, the vampires in the cash register.
There you
Okay,
go.
so
I'm a horrible human being. Horrible. You want to be friends with me, everybody? I don't know. Listen to this episode. I'm not so sure. But that all said, that or watching or listening, however you're doing it, it's like I don't know. I love Jack. It's like, wait, tell me about these vampires.
well, we're writing Joe Compton into fan fiction for Twilight, and if you know anything about him in his first book, you know the story of the cash register. So yeah, and I hate Twilight, so it's going to be interesting, I think.
A sparkling cash register with sparkling vampires and Joe Compton. It's caught in the middle of this bizarre thing. I'm horrible. I feel proud of myself. I feel very, very proud of myself. But enough about Joe.
Well, you've already put zombie penguins on my blog, so what the heck?
You know what I've done? Yes, that's right. Well, it was funny, right? It just like I made that as an example. Like, there's a genre for everything, including zombie penguins, and you were like, challenge accepted.
Yeah. Well, the last installment went up today, and Oswald the Penguin Noir has fled to the flying monkey world, so there may actually be a sequel at some point.
Yeah. So Jack, this is the thing. I've mentioned this on a few episodes. I use this as like a silly genre. There's a genre for everything, and that is so there's steampunk like giant romance. I'm sure somewhere over the rainbow somewhere, and so I just did penguins in the zombie apocalypse, and I made this joke a few times throughout the show. So one day Anita goes to me, "I'm gonna do it," and I'm like, "Okay." So there you go. I have inspired people to do great and wonderful things. And Jay,
Yeah, well, I kind of needed a sequel to the zombie cows, and why not penguins? So
yeah, here we go. See, I told you there's a genre for everything. She just proved my point. I never would have thought of zombie cows. She did. And who am I, right? And somewhere out there, people love the zombie.
Yes, so, well, I happen to like Dr. Quackenboss, who's one of the zombie cows. He's very interesting. He's a good character, Dr. Quackenboss. We also have a genetically altered guinea pig and a cat.
I love, like, I could literally hear her brain crack. I heard Jag's brain just crack.
Yeah, well, let's just say the Frankie and Johnny Drabble series has been going on for a while, and there's a lot of stuff in it.
This is why you come to my show, Jag. Like, you'll hear stuff like this, and this will give you a new perspective.
But that's not as bizarre as the time sheep thing that I did for the other one, because I've got the Flying Monkey Genetic Laboratory saga as well in my Drabble series, and we did a whole thing about Debbie the time sheep.
Yeah. Yeah, see, there you go. It's like
she ate the ninjas, just FYI.
See, there you go. And then this is, you know, she's going to follow you now just because she has to know. So, for people,
well, be prepared. It's weird. Very.
You can't. No, that's not.
No,
true,
Debbie ate the ninjas to save Charles Dickens.
You can so eat ninjas, Jag. That you can eat ninjas.
Debbie was a carnivorous time sheep who ate the ninjas to save Charles Dickens.
There you go.
And the evidence of the time incursion too, because the ninja shouldn't have been in Victorian England.
I'm hearing another brain crack. I'm just hearing it right now. It's like this has been.
Well, perhaps I shouldn't tell her about Tracy, who's actually a genetically enhanced clone and part dinosaur.
And this is why I love Anita. She's awesome. And I mean, we've gone from this, like, you should hear the first part of the conversation, Jag. We went from history and mythology to chocolate skulls. I don't know how that got and then we talked about chocolate for a little bit. And then we ended up, dealing with, like, eating ninjas. And I really don't know how to top this. I really don't. So my next
actually
guest,
probably not the weirdest thing I've ever written either. So
I've written weirder stuff. I've written weirder stuff myself. And just because you can, why the hell not? Really, the the contents in a story can be anything you want it to be. All the rules of telling a story, you can't break them too hard. You still gotta play into some form of expectation. That all said, if you do that, like seriously, I do a giant, like my sequel to the Cloud Diver. I have a giant Pac-Man scene. I made a monster in a lot. Like his first job interview was with like this weird like coffee company that's like quietly making secretly trying to make a blob monster, and they succeed during his job interview, right? And it's just like one of those things where you read it and go, what have I done? But it creates this like, and in the background there's gonna be like this milk carton. There's gonna be like this news toll of this giant like blob eating monster, right? That's rolling on a rampage in this city. And my main character is literally gonna do a Pac-Man homage somewhere because I wanted to do a Pac-Man homage. That's me, and that's just how I think, and I think.
Yeah, well, that's the most fun, is putting those little Easter egg thingies in the.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and going and playing with expectations in like the most fun of ways, right? So, and yes, the blob monster actually goes through the like that you hear when you play Pac-Man, because I'm 12 and I can, and there's no rules that say I can't. So. I think if Jag is still here, she's had like I think the zombie like the time sheet eating ninjas. I mean that one is a new one to me, but it's still impressive, and I can totally go with it.
Well, I couldn't leave ninjas in Victorian England, and they couldn't come with the rest of the story, since they had to go somewhere. So and I'd already established the sheep was carnivorous.
I know you're still here, Jag. I can literally hear your brain kind of like going like crack, 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 crack.
It made perfect story sense within the story context. The sheep had already been established as carnivorous. The ninjas were already dead, and the evidence had to be disposed of. So the sheep ate the ninjas. Made perfect sense.
Oh my god, I love this. I love this so much. Jag just went. I died a little on the inside. I don't know what she doesn't know what she just heard. And you can only hear this on Just Josh, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it does sound weird out of context, but if you read the whole story from start to finish, all the drabbles and the meat, but yeah, it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
The audience has not complained yet. They keep coming back to read the drabbles. So
yes. So what we should do is, like, we talk all about this stuff. Where can we find you so people can do this?
Well, you can find me and the drabbles on my website, afstewart.ca. I'm over on Twitter at scribe77. My books are all over the internet except for the Visions and Nightmares one, which is this one. That one's only on Kindle Unlimited for now, but it may change. I may get off that. And I got a new print version of Chronicles of the Undead. Isn't it pretty?
Ew, nice.
Yeah, that's actually my vampire book. But they don't sparkle.
They don't sparkle?
No.
Joe's fan fiction will sparkle. It will be all about the sparkle.
And and I have a group on Facebook, AF Stewart's Minions, that I post a lot of stuff in. And I got a page over there too.
What's the address for that?
AF Stewart's Minions? I don't have a clue. Facebook, whatever. Just look AF Stewart's Minions up on Facebook. You'll find it.
There you go. Straight to vampire books.
I don't have any more vampire stories. I'm not sure. I might have a couple of short stories. But yeah. No, actually, this one I like this. This is actually written as diary entries, the entire book. There's no dialogue in this book, which I did not realize until a reader pointed it out to me.
That can be cool, though. That actually can be very cool. I'm actually doing it like a free, like when we're done this interview, I'm doing 2 freelance articles for Writers Weekly. One of them is about pitching, but one of the decisions that, no dialogue. Yeah, it can be done. It's
all diary entries. The whole entire book is diary entries it's 3 generations of one family. You've got Samuel Harrington, Edmund Harrington, who's his son, and Charlotte Harrington, who's Edmund's daughter.
Yeah.
And it takes place over a span of years, and they deal with 2 vampires, Henri, and Eleanor, and in different ways. The three people deal with them in different ways. And Charlotte is the one that ends up dealing with them permanently.
Yes. Yeah. So like I'm doing like a pitch tonight about how to pitch, and one of the things I talk about, I'm talking about in this article I'm writing is how you pitch your story is how you write that story, right? And having a plan, especially when you're trying to get yourself paid, right? It's good. Like you teach yourself very much, like and once you set like these like boundaries, you tell interesting stories, and the more and you know the no boundaries thing, and we can do this for another episode somewhere down the road. We talk about it, like actually having boundaries in your stories creates some of the most creative stories you can do. That's what boundaries are great for. They enforce creativity, you know.
And sometimes they cause headaches.
Yeah.
Because I have to write an epic battle at the end of my 4th book for my Camelot Immortal series, and it's told in first person.
Ew.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to tell everybody's at least part of the other characters' stories while I'm doing this epic battle, and it's giving me a headache.
I know how you do it. Like, I get the idea how you would do it, but you couldn't tell full stories.
No, you can't tell full stories because I mean she's not going to see everything. It's told through Nimwe's eyes, and it has to be told through Nimwe's eyes because it works for the rest of the series. It just doesn't really work well for the epic. But so I have to give her an epic battle, but still have her see bits of what else is going on during the battle.
There's some tricks we can definitely talk about it if you need to, but yeah.
So no, I can figure it out. It gives me a headache.
I know you don't need my. You're not the kind of woman that needs my help, but I mean, there's definitely if I was like editing, it's like I could come up with some really neat suggestions to actually help with that a little bit at least. That all said, that is this episode of Just Joshing, ladies and gentlemen. As you can tell, Anita's awesome. And you're welcome to come back anytime you like, by the way. So that if you're done, you got another book ready to go, let me know and come back in and go read her Zombie Penguin story because I inspired it. And Joe, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But for those of you that are watching and listening right now, you can definitely subscribe to this podcast. I did my first ever 1,000 listen download like on my audio. So definitely hit the subscribe button there if you want to be part of that. I am looking for sponsorships for September, October, November for my podcast. If you guys are interested in that, contact me on my email, which I am going to put on the screen right now if you are interested. There's that. If you're looking to have your comics books edited, you're looking to have written articles from me, or if you're looking to have podcast work done for me, definitely give me a shout at that same email. I definitely do a whole kinds of things there. Follow this on Twitch. Hit the follow button here. Tell people about it. Get people more watch me live because I definitely have the followers for it. I just need more people to watch me live to get to that affiliate status, and that'd be cool. Outside of that, YouTube channels Joshua Penteleresco. Hit the like, subscribe there. My book Alice Zero is nominated for the Elgin Award this year. You can definitely check that out on Amazon. Alice 1, my sequel, comes out November 1st. And I gave a little glimpse on that if you want to look at my motivation on Wednesday. A little bit of lines there. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Karina Cantus, early afternoon tomorrow for that one.
Oh, that'll be a fun interview.
Karina's great. But it's gonna be 12 noon.
I know, because she's on Greek time.
Yeah, she's literally from Greece. So we're going to talk about her Academy Award-winning video trailers for books. It's going to be phenomenal. Guys, stay tuned, stay inspired, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, bye.